Hi everyone, and welcome to our English lesson for today. So yesterday you wrote some amazing alternative endings to the story The Way Back Home, and we all loved reading them so much. So what we're going to do now is we're going to learn some new skills as to how we can make our stories even better and improve our alternative endings so that they can be the best that they can be. So let me share my screen with you and then we can learn what we're going to do today. So yesterday was our first time at doing our show stage of learning for our use of apostrophes, and we showed that we can use them by putting them in our writing. So today we're moving on to our analysing stage. So we need to now learn how to know and notice where we might not have used them correctly and how we can then change that for next time. So our learning objective today is to be able to question the correct use of apostrophes in a piece of writing. And this is our analysing stage. So to be able to do that, we need to be able to spot where an apostrophe has been used correctly. We need to be able to spot where an apostrophe has been used incorrectly, so not right. And we then need to see if we can correct where those apostrophes have been used wrongly. That is our third success criteria. So, as we always do, let's remind ourselves so we know what we're looking for. How do we know when a possessive apostrophe has been used? Have a think and speak to the camera or speak to someone around you. What is the possessive apostrophe? Hopefully you have said where an apostrophe has been used to show that something belongs to somebody. So for example, Mrs. Clark's glasses. The S on the end of Clark's and the apostrophe show that the glasses belong to me. Well done. Right, have a think now. What was the contracted form of an apostrophe? What was the contracted form? Say to the camera or say to somebody around you. Good. Well, hopefully you have said the contracted form is when two words are joined together to make one word, and the apostrophe is used to show where some of the letters have been missing. Super. Well done. Right, so now we're going to go on to thinking about our questioning whether they've been used correctly or not. So I need your help because I have had a go at writing my own alternative ending and I don't know if I have used my apostrophes correctly or not, and I need you to tell me whether I have. So we're going to have a look at an extract of one of my alternative endings that I wrote, because I wrote a few because I wasn't sure which one was the best one. So we're going to read this together and we're going to see whether we can spot in any cases where my apostrophe has been used correctly or where it has been used incorrectly. So correctly or incorrectly. So let's read it together. Somewhere else in space, someone was trying to land on the moon, but he couldn't find it. Let's read that sentence again. Somewhere else in space, someone else was trying to land on the moon, but he couldn't find it. I need to pause the video now. Is there anywhere in that sentence where I should have used an apostrophe? Off you go, pause the video. Hopefully you saw the word couldn't. We need an apostrophe, don't we, between the could and the n and then the apostrophe before the t. Fantastic, well done if you spotted that one. Right, let's try my next sentence. In the distance, he noticed a flicker of light. He wasn't sure if it was the moon, but he followed it and landed on the moon with a bump. Let me read that sentence again. In the distance, he noticed a flicker of light. He wasn't sure if this was the moon, but he followed it and landed on the moon with a bump. Pause the video now. See if you can find whether I've used an apostrophe correctly or incorrectly in that sentence. Hopefully you noticed that I did something right this time. I used an apostrophe for the word wasn't, didn't I? I put the word was and not together to make the word wasn't. Well done, me. Right, last sentence, let's see. When he stepped out of his rocket, he saw the boy's aeroplane. When he stepped out of his rocket, he saw the boy's aeroplane. Pause the video now and have a think. Have I used an apostrophe correctly or incorrectly? There. Hopefully you saw again I've done something right. The word boys has got an apostrophe before the S to show that the aeroplane belongs to the boy. So that's a possessive apostrophe. Well done, me. Self 5. Right, last part. And in the distance, what looked like some mountains. And in the distance, what looked like some mountains. Have a look at that last part. Have I used an apostrophe correctly or incorrectly? Pause the video now and have a think. Hopefully you said, I've used it incorrectly, because I've put an apostrophe after the word mountains, but the mountains don't belong to anybody. I'm just talking about the fact that there's lots of mountains. So when I talk about lots of things, I don't need an apostrophe. Well done. Hopefully you found all of those things that I've done right and things I've done wrong. So I'm going to give you my full piece of story that I wrote yesterday. And I want you to do exactly the same thing in that. And the way I'd like you to record it is in a table like this. So you're going to have 2 parts to your table. First part's going to say used correctly with a tick because I've done it right. Second part is going to say used incorrectly because I've done it wrong. So you can see I've then written in each section which examples were correct and which examples were incorrect. And I've even shaded in the part that's good or the part that's not so good on each side. So on my correctly, I've got he wasn't sure if this was the moon. And I've got the boy's aeroplane as 2 really good examples. Used incorrectly, but he couldn't find it. And used incorrectly, some mountains, because those were the 2 we said I didn't do very well. Fantastic. So what I'd like you to do actually before we go on to that bit is, can you pause the video now? And I'd like you to go and do the first task. So on the home page, find my big piece of writing that I've done. And then I would like you to read through it and do your own table like mine to show what apostrophes I've used correctly and what apostrophes I have used incorrectly. Find the piece of, find the example on the home page and off you go. Right, now hopefully you have worked out all of the things that I did correctly in my long piece of alternative ending writing and all the things that I did incorrectly in my long piece of alternative ending writing. So what I'd like you to do now for me, so that I know what to do next time, I'd like you to think about giving me 2 stars and 2 wishes. So I'm talking about the example we did together now. My stars and wishes for my example we did together, do you remember this little one? My stars and wishes would be, so my star, you have used the possessive apostrophe to show that the aeroplane belongs to the boy. I did, didn't I? Do you remember? I wrote near the bottom, he saw the boy's aeroplane and in the distance what looked like some mountains. And where I'd used boys, that was correct. So under my star, I've written that and I have told the person that wrote this that that is a good star for them. Well done to them. Now my wish is something that they could do better next time. So my wish for that small extract is, you don't need to use an apostrophe for the word mountains because you are using the S to show there is more than one of them. So do you remember at the end of my piece of writing here, I said, and in the distance, what looked like some mountains. And I didn't need to use an apostrophe S then. I just needed an S because I was talking about lots of them. So, for my wish, that's what I've said. So I'd like you to pause the video now and do the next task, which is to go and now give me a star and a wish for my long piece of writing that you have just worked out what the good bits were and what the bad bits are. Give me a star and a wish, and if you're feeling brilliant, you give me 2 stars and 2 wishes. Off you go. Right, last thing as always that we want to do is we always reflect, don't we? So I've given you now, when I've been doing my video tutorials, I've been giving you examples of how we've been working towards our outcome. And I've been giving you examples of how we might have shown resilience. I wonder if today you could think about what we've learned, that we've learned to question whether our apostrophes have been used correctly or not. How is that going to help us to redraft our story? How is that going to help us reach our outcome? Can you have a think and reflect on how you're working towards your outcome? And then resilience. You're really good at this now. You understand resilience really well. How have you shown resilience today? It was quite a long piece of writing, wasn't there, to read through? There were lots of little challenges that might have needed us to show our character trait of resilience. So, as your last thing to do today, can you please reflect on whether you think or how you think you've worked towards your outcome and how you have shown resilience? Well done. You have worked super hard today, and I'm really excited to hear all your stars and wishes for my story so that I can make mine even better than it was. See you tomorrow.